Any given Thursday, Harrison and Chase with you. Let's talk some Lakers hoops here on Chat Sports, and join us live on Chat Sports every single Thursday at either 5 Eastern, 4 Eastern. Who knows? We'll be live. Just join us and mark your calendars. Chase, purple and gold, a bit of an up and down start. It's been a roller coaster around Russell Westbrook as well. Let's talk a little LeBron James off the jump here. Dave McMenamin has an update. He will not play against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, he's out for tonight's game as we record this on any given Thursday against OKC with an abdominal strain. He suffered that earlier in the week against the Houston Rockets. And the Lakers are taking an approach, as they should be, that's a precautious approach, because if you're without LeBron James for an extended period of time, your season quickly might unravel and go down the tubes. Here's what Dave McMenamin had to say about LeBron's injury. While no timeline for his return has been provided by the Lakers, a source familiar with the injury told ESPN that the team's medical staff, quote, wants to take their time with James's recovery. The 19-year veteran, who turns 37 years old next month, has already missed 2 of the Lakers' first 8 games through their 5-3 start to the season. And Harrison, look, we talk about LeBron James being indestructible, the bionic man. The guy's been in the league since 2003. His durability is part of his greatness. But now, he's been with the Lakers now for a few seasons, and these injuries are starting to pile up just a bit. And a lot of them are tweaks. A lot of them are soft tissue injuries. Are we starting to get a little bit concerned by LeBron? I mean, you take a look at his numbers this year, he's off to a really good start. Now, his field goal percentage is the lowest that it's been at 46.7% since going back to his rookie year, but his numbers are very, very diverse. 24.8 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. But these injuries starting to pile up just a bit, and it's sounding like it could be an injury that at least lasts a couple of games.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, even for the great ones, maybe take Tom Brady out of this. At some point, you start getting nicked up, and like this same exact injury 5 years ago, he probably just plays through, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of the situation. But now it's like, you've got all these new pieces in here if you're LA, right? You brought in all these one-year guys. Melo, who's been fantastic, by the way. We should talk more about Carmelo Anthony. But Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn, you bring in Wayne Ellington, who's been banged up, Dwight Howard. All these guys were on paper. You're like, oh, yeah, this team's so deep. It's going to be great as long as LeBron's healthy and good to go. Well, he's not healthy and good to go. That's the problem. And I think it's like, at some point we have to acknowledge the guy's 37, and this is what, year 3 of his Lakers tenure? Year 4? Year 4 now.
Yep.
He's been hurt. Like, if you added up the total number of games.
Every year, really, except the bubble season.
He's missed like 30% of time since joining the Lakers for a guy that basically played 80 games a year his entire career. So I think you have to be at least somewhat concerned. Now, if it comes playoff time and he's healthy, I think you're fine. But you need these chemistry reps is what I'll call them,
because they didn't have that against the Suns.
Yeah, and there's so many pieces
as well
now.
As the injury
you
issues.
Can't just turn it on in the playoffs with guys that haven't played together. So I am going to type my one for yes. I'm not incredibly concerned, but I think we'd be naive to not be at least a little bit concerned. So type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Are you guys concerned about the aging and the injuries starting to pile up?
Now to a pretty fascinating article put together by Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports about a conversation that took place over the summer during the NBA offseason between LeBron James, Damian Lillard, as well as Anthony Davis on the rooftop of James's mansion in the Los Angeles area. So we're going to kind of run through this article and give you some of our thoughts, opinions, and takes about some of these Damian Lillard trade rumors that were really circulating throughout the NBA offseason. So let's first set the foundation here for what happened during that chat and how it came together. So Damian Lillard over the offseason was in the Los Angeles area to shoot a music video. By the way, he's a really good rapper. He's got bars for days. And he ran into LeBron James at the Los Angeles Sparks WNBA game. While at that game, him and LeBron James are talking because that was around the time of Space Jam 2 coming out. Damian Lillard was one of his co-stars in that movie. And LeBron said, yo, Dame, pull up to the crib. So Dame got into an Uber, went to LeBron James's house, and they talked about some of the offseason plans. If you remember at this time, there were so many rumors about Damian Lillard potentially asking for a trade to send him away from Portland because they haven't had a lot of deep postseason success. Here's what Chris Haynes has to say about Dame meeting up with LeBron. The 6'3" guard called an Uber from his hotel to James's house. After security, not LeBron James, opened the gate for the vehicle to enter the property, Lillard was met at the door by a house staffer who escorted him through the living room and into the elevator. The destination was the rooftop. This is good journalism stuff right here. When the elevator reached the top floor, James and fellow Lakers star AD were sitting on one side of a table waiting for Lillard to join them on the other side before they fully dove into lunch of an Italian salad followed by pasta and a fine bottle of rosé wine. We know LeBron loves his wine. James kicked off the conversation detailing his experience living in Los Angeles, and then they started to talk about Dame and his frustrations, Dame and his future goals and aspirations. But before we continue to dive further into this, Harrison, the setting of this is so dope. You've got the King LeBron, AD, the generational talent, and one of the best bucket getters of all time in Dame, all talking shop on the rooftop of his Los Angeles area mansion. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, let me send my security guy down to escort you
and then have a house staffer escort you from the front door to the elevator. Let's go up to the rooftop and let's take down probably a bottle of wine that's worth several $100.
Pour out this $500 bottle of rosé.
It's next level.
We're at it. It's stuff like you and me. If we get to do something like that once in our life, these guys are doing this on the regular. Though.
Yeah,
it's pretty sick. But no, it's all very fascinating, and I'm sure LeBron and AD at least made some sort of a pitch to Dame, like, hey, if we could make it happen, you trying to come on board?
Yeah, and we'll continue to get further into this article because Dame did kind of go back to his thoughts about wanting to stay in Portland, being loyal to Portland. We'll get to that here in just a moment, but first, today's show, presented to you by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. You can get a 125% deposit bonus by going to chatsports.com/Lakers and enter the promo code Lakers125. What that means is you put $100 into your account, you get an additional $125 back. You can put a futures bet on the Lakers to win the NBA championship. You can bet on LeBron James to win NBA MVP, or you can bet on football like myself and Harrison. Harrison's been doing much better than I in those NFL bets. But to simplify all of the betting odds, here you go. Because we always hook you up here at Chat Sports. If you bet on LeBron to win NBA MVP at plus 1,000 odds, what that means is if you risk $1 and he wins NBA MVP, you win $10 back. So there you go. Chatsports.com/Lakers. Enter the promo code Lakers125. Here's what Dame had to say about that conversation with LeBron. Bron asked what I was thinking, and I told him what I'm telling you, that I just want to be in a position to win it all. He painted the picture to me that if I were to leave, the situation could look like this. He didn't tell me to come to LA directly, and he didn't say anything to me that I didn't already know other than what it could look like. I told him, I know if I were to play with y'all, which is really interesting, I know it would work because of my skill set and who I am and who they are. I was just saying, I don't know if this is the route, joining a super team, I wanted to go. And that was pretty much how the conversation went. His loyalty, Harrison, to Portland, it honestly is something to behold.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's something we talked about all offseason, right? It's like, we admire the loyalty. Like, no one's going to think you're not loyal if you leave at this point because you've given it so much time and so many opportunities in Portland. I just am such a big fan of Dame's. I'd like to see him win a title. Now, I can't fault the guy for saying, you know what, man, I may never win one, but I'm just gonna stay in Portland. He had the IG post before the season, "This is my city," all that stuff, which pretty much signaled he was not going to request a trade. And of course, we heard all the stories. He talked with Chauncey Billups, and Billups kind of sold him on his vision and all that stuff. But man, I would love to see this guy team up with a real co-superstar. And that's no disrespect to CJ. He's a great player, but he's more of a number 3 if we're being completely honest. And I've said it time and time again, I just do not believe that if he stays in Portland, he will win a championship.
Especially with LeBron getting so old. We talked about his injuries just moments ago. To have a guy with a usage rate of Damian Lillard pairing up with LeBron would be fascinating to me. Now, from a salary cap perspective, we talked about a potential Anthony Davis for Damian Lillard trade over the offseason. Some members of Laker Nation weren't for it because they think and know that AD is one of the top 3 to 5 NBA players right now if he's able to stay healthy. But a LeBron and Dame tandem would be fascinating, and it's so much better than what you're seeing now from a Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James trio. LeBron and Dame would be fascinating because I I think they'd be able to complement each other a lot better than a Russ and LeBron tandem. More from Dame during this article when I was like, man, what if I'm not back in Portland when I actually had that thought? It just runs so deep with me to win here. I want to win here. I've attached myself to the history of this organization and this city. Just in thinking about how long it's been since they've won a championship, I want to be part of that coming to an end. I want people to say, when Dame came through here, he rode all the way out for us through the good and the bad. He was ready to sink with the ship. But man, I just can't stop envisioning Damian Lillard as well as LeBron James playing together. And I do think that a Damian Lillard trade, as we get closer and closer to the NBA trade deadline, yes, the NBA season just began, that a Dame trade could still be in play if the Trailblazers just flame out. And they just lost to a Sixers team the other night that was without Joel Embiid, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and of course Ben Simmons. And the Blazers were at full strength with Nurkic, Dame, and CJ McCollum. That's not a good look. Not a good look at all.
When you start to think of a potential Dame fit in LA, and look, when you read those quotes, you're like, okay, this guy isn't leaving. But I was taught at a young age, sports are fluid. What's true today may not be true tomorrow. Things can always change in life, but especially in sports. What if they're 15 games below 500 in March, and you're like, okay, not only are we not competitive this year, we're not close to competing for a championship here in Portland. Maybe things change by that point, because I think that you would have to consider it at some point if you're literally like, it just isn't going to happen here. And the question would be for the Lakers, because I don't think Portland would take Russell Westbrook. Would you be willing to do it if that meant moving Anthony Davis?
That's what it comes down to.
That's what
equal
it would probably
salaries,
come down to.
both elite players, and
Yep.
if the Blazers were to trade away Damian Lillard, they'd want a franchise
They don't
pillar
want
back.
Russ.
But by the sounds of the meeting, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But hey, we can always speculate and wish that things come true.
Something that does happen is we continue to bring you videos here on the Lakers Report, youtube.com/Lakers Report, the latest news, rumors. We'll keep you guys up to date all season long with everything happening within the purple and gold. And hey, I promise you this, if the Lakers trade for Dame, hell, we'll probably be going live here on the Lakers Report. So go ahead and subscribe and don't miss any of it.